Attorney General Bondi, I think you and pretty much everybody else here and throughout the country believes that convicted sex offenders don't deserve special treatment or privileges in prison. And yet Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein's co-conspirator, received PERK after PERK in prison. In July, she had a 2-day interview with your deputy and President Trump's former defense attorney, Todd Blanche. Just days after that, Maxwell was transferred from a federal correctional institution in Florida to a minimum security camp in Texas, which she, as a sex offender, would normally be ineligible for. At this new facility, as the ranking member talked about, and by the way, it's nicknamed Club Fed, we've heard reports that she's been afforded special privileges, puppy time, private workouts, personal mail, secretarial services. Attorney General Bondi, does a convicted sex offender like Ghislaine Maxwell deserve special treatment and privileges in prison? Yes or no?
Let me be crystal clear on this. No. And
Thank you.
Let me keep going. No, let me keep going.
Perfect. Well, I
did not know she was being transferred.
I asked you yes or no.
She was not transferred to a lower
Mr. Chairman,
level.
please stop the clock and remind the witness of the rules. One rule she needs to understand here.
And I'm glad that we're agreeing. So when we're agreeing, we can move on to some other things. But I want you to know that every time she does get these perks, and it's been publicly reported, that the folks she's abused, the survivors who are sitting here, they see themselves as being denied justice. They feel re-traumatized. And I'm glad that we agree on that. But she should not be in that prison. And she needs to be moved back to a maximum security prison as soon as possible. But what she has told another committee here is that she won't cooperate with them unless she gets clemency from Donald Trump. It's just crazy to consider that she can be wielding this kind of influence within the administration. But that begs the question, who ordered her to be transferred to the minimum security prison that she was ineligible for? Who signed off on the special privileges? Was it Mr. Blanche? Was it one of your other subordinates? So please, can you tell us who sent her there, since you don't agree she should be there?
I said I do not agree she should receive special treatment. She was transferred, I learned after the fact, to the same level facility, and that is a question for the Bureau of Prisons. I was not involved in that at all. The same level facility, I don't know why, but you know, instead of talking about Ghislaine Maxwell, who hopefully will die in prison, you should be talking about Irina Zarutska.
I have a couple of
who died on a subway.
Right, and I absolutely—
You don't talk about that.
I have been talking about it and actually helping with these issues. But we're gonna move back to you.
I bet we are.
Yes, of course, because you're here to testify. That's what the whole point of this endeavor is. So of course we're moving back to you. It is all about you. So as we've heard, she took the fifth in response to every single question in that committee hearing. And her lawyer dangled the offer of clemency. Should Donald Trump pardon or commute her sentence? Should she be released from prison, yes or no? You said you hope she dies there, so I'm hoping the answer is no.
I already answered that question.
Good. I'm very glad. I really like this bipartisan agreement about what should happen
with you. But you don't want to talk about Irina Zarutska. You don't want to talk about
I talk about her all the time,
violent crime
but I am not here to testify before Congress. You are. That is your job today. That's what you're getting paid for.
With attack.
I want you to know that your own DOJ employee, he's recently been demoted and had some other problems, advises on pardons. Do you think he will be advising Mr. Trump on any kind of clemency or pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell?
I'm not going to speculate, and you couldn't even identify properly. That's why you don't want to talk about Irina Zarutska. You couldn't properly identify her relative.
I absolutely
it's embarrassing.
have been And her family, by the way, appreciates all of the condolences, all of the help, everything that our law enforcement in North Carolina has been doing to help her family. Her family feels well treated. Thank you, and I yield back.
The gentlelady yields back. Gentleman from California is recognized.
I'd ask unanimous consent to enter into the record an article by former Attorney General William P. Barr entitled, "Why Pam Bondi Didn't Publish All the Epstein Files in 30 Days." The answer is simple. It was not possible, from the Wall Street Journal.
Well said. Without objection, the gentlelady from Florida is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry. May I respond 20 seconds to something that Congresswoman Ross said?
Go right ahead.
Thank you. She also opposed a sex offender registry as head of North Carolina ACLU. Thank you.
Usually a federal prison sentence means, concrete goals. You break the law, you hit the wall. It's supposed to be unyielding. But peek behind the curtain of high-profile justice, and you'll find that wall sometimes hides a hidden door to a day spa. Welcome to today's deep dive. We are unpacking a wildly combative C-SPAN transcript of Attorney General Pam Bondi testifying before Congress about Ghislaine Maxwell.
Yeah, today we're exploring these astonishing accusations of luxury prison conditions, rumors of executive clemency, and, how congressional oversight can just instantly devolve into political crossfire. And because this transcript involves some intense Trump-era political rhetoric, we need to be very clear right up front. We aren't taking sides here.
Right, exactly. We're simply looking at the facts presented in the room so you can understand the actual mechanics of the justice system. So the timeline the Congresswoman lays out here sounds, well, entirely fictional. In July, Ghislaine Maxwell has a 2-day interview with Todd Blanche, a former Trump defense attorney.
Right. And following that specific meeting, Maxwell is transferred from a Florida facility to a minimum security camp in Texas, a place literally nicknamed Club Fed.
Club Fed, wow. And we are talking about reports of puppy time, private workouts, personal mail, and even secretarial services. I mean, that sounds like a bizarre corporate wellness retreat, not a federal prison.
Yeah, it really does.
So how does a convicted sex offender even become eligible for a setup like that?
Well, that is the exact mechanical question at the heart of this hearing. The Bureau of Prisons, or BOP, uses a very strict custody classification system. Normally, a sex offender profile triggers a public safety factor.
Which automatically disqualifies an inmate from minimum security camps, right?
Exactly. It's an automatic disqualification. So the implication being raised by the Congresswoman is that an override, or some special exception, was granted, potentially linked to whatever was discussed in that 2-day interview with Blanche.
Like, is cooperation being traded for comfort?
Yeah, exactly. And beyond the legal mechanics, the Congresswoman really stresses the human cost here. Every time these privileges make the news, it re-traumatizes survivors. It signals to them that the system is bending the rules for their abuser.
Right. So the spotlight immediately hits Attorney General Pam Bondi. And her response is fiercely defensive. She agrees Maxwell shouldn't get these perks, stating bluntly she hopes Maxwell will die in prison.
Yeah, but when she's pressed on who authorized the transfer, Bondi claims she learned about it after the fact. She frames it entirely as a Bureau of Prisons issue.
Wait, if you were the Attorney General of the United States, how does the transfer of your most notorious federal inmate happen completely under your radar? I mean, that logic just doesn't hold up.
Well, the BOP actually operates with a surprising amount of day-to-day autonomy. The Attorney General doesn't sign off on individual inmate transfers. This creates a highly convenient layer of plausible deniability.
Right, but still.
It is essentially like a CEO claiming a rogue HR department made a massive policy change, and they only found out by reading the company newsletter.
Yeah, that is a pretty big blind spot.
Oh, definitely. And instead of explaining that chain of command failure, Bondi executes a really sharp pivot. She deflects by repeatedly bringing up a subway crime victim named Irina Zarutka.
Oh, so accusing the Congresswoman of ignoring violent crime to focus purely on political attacks.
Exactly.
And the Congresswoman actually has to remind her, you are here to testify today, not me. This logistical argument about prison transfers quickly escalates into a clash over executive power because the Congresswoman points out that Maxwell is reportedly refusing to cooperate with another committee, invoking her Fifth Amendment rights.
Right. The accusation is that Maxwell is holding out for a pardon from Donald Trump.
Which ties directly back to that July interview with the former Trump defense attorney.
It does. The hearing exposes the fear that a high-profile inmate might be wielding leverage from inside a minimum security camp. Bondi refuses to speculate on what might happen regarding clemency, and from there, the procedure completely breaks down. A Wall Street Journal article by former Attorney General William Barr, written to defend Bondi, is formally entered into the record.
And Bondi uses her last 20 seconds to attack the Congresswoman for previously opposing a sex offender registry as head of the North Carolina ACLU. Just a chaotic end.
It really is. When you realize the Attorney General can simply point the finger at a sub-agency to avoid accountability for a high-profile sex offender, it shatters the illusion of a controlled, rigid justice system. It's a masterclass in how congressional oversight frequently operates as pure political theater rather than fact-finding missions.
Totally. So we'll leave you with this thought to mull over. If a globally notorious inmate can be transferred to a minimum security camp with puppy time without the Attorney General even knowing who was actually pulling the strings in the federal prison system,